Hi, this is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst in Inter Arbor Solutions, and you're listening to Briefings Direct. Our podcast today explores the expanding impact that cloud computing is having as a strategic business revolution, and not just an IT efficiency shift. Over the past 5 years, the impetus for cloud adoption has been primarily about advancing IT infrastructure as a services fabric or utility model, and increasingly seeking both applications and discrete IT workload support services from internet-based providers. But as adoption of these models has unfolded, it's become clear that the impacts and implications of cloud commerce are much broader, and much more of a benefit to the business as a whole as an innovation engine, even across whole industries. Recent research shows us that the business leaders are now eager to move beyond cost and efficiency gains from cloud to reap far greater rewards, to in essence rewrite the rules of commerce. We're here today with a panel of experts and practitioners of cloud to unpack how modern enterprises have a unique opportunity to gain powerful new means to greater business outcomes. So with that, please join me in welcoming our guests. We're here today with Ed Cohn, the Managing Editor of Thought Leadership at Oxford Economics. Welcome, Ed.
Good morning, Dana.
We're here today as well with Ralph Steinbach. He's the Director of Global Software Architecture at Groupe Danone, the French food multinational based in Paris. Welcome, Ralph.
Good afternoon, because it's afternoon here.
Right. And we're here also with Brian Aker. He's the Culture Change Ambassador for TELUS Transformation Office at TELUS, the Canadian telecommunications firm. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
And today we're here with, as well, Tim Minahan, Chief Marketing Officer for SAP Cloud and Line of Business Solutions. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, Dana. It's great to be here.
Let me start with you, Ed. You've done recent research there at Oxford Economics, and it seems to me that business, at its most simplest definition, is a series of inputs transformed by processes and value adds, and then a set of outputs. Now, that's grossly simplified, but this is all governed then internally by systems of record and cycles of learning, and many times innovative processes based on intellectual property and research. How is cloud now able to address this entire business meta process rather than just some discrete parts like systems of record?
Well, Dana, we did a survey for SAP last year that became the basis for this program, and we went out to 200 executives around the world, and we asked them that question, not quite so elegantly phrased as you did, but what are you doing in the cloud? Are you still looking at it for just process speed, efficiency, cost cutting? And the numbers that came back were really strong, that in terms of actually being a part of the business function beyond those basics, cloud is very much part of the daily reality of companies today. So we saw that the leading expectation for where cloud is going to deliver significant improvement was in productivity, innovation, revenue generation. So obviously, process speed and efficiency, cost cutting, these are still very important to business, but people are looking to cloud for new lines of business, entering new markets, developing new products. And in this program, what we did was take that information and go out to executives for live interviews to really dive deep into how cloud has become the new engine of business, how these expectations are being met at companies around the world.
And we'll be speaking to some of those in just a few moments at Danone and TELUS. But before we get to the nitty-gritty of how you do this, I'm still interested in why this is evolving to a higher value. So, Tim, at SAP Cloud, how are you seeing this shift? Are businesses doing this intentionally, or are they basically being forced by what's happening around them?
No, I mean, Dana, increasingly, as was just indicated, businesses are moving beyond the IT efficiencies and the TCO benefits of the cloud, and the cloud certainly offers benefits in those areas. But really, what's driving adoption, what's moving us to this tipping point where now, by some estimates, 75% of all new investments are going into the cloud or hybrid models, is that increasingly businesses are viewing the cloud as a platform for innovation and entirely new engagement models with their customers, their employees, their suppliers and partners, and in some cases to create entirely new business models. I mean, think about what the cloud has done for our personal lives, right? Who would have thought that Apple a few years ago would be used to run your home, right? The Apple Home concept that allows you to monitor and manage all of your devices from your air conditioning unit to your alarm to your, obviously, music and television remotely through the cloud, or even the quasi-business B2B, B2C models around crowdsourcing and crowdfunding from folks like Kickstarter, or entirely new payment offerings like Square. I mean, these are entirely new engagement models, entirely new business models that are built on the back of these emergence of cloud and mobile and social capabilities.
Right, and it seems that one of these benefits is that we can cross boundaries of time, space, geography, what have you, very easily, almost transparently. And that requires new thinking in order to take advantage of that. So Brian, at TELUS, cultural change ambassador, are you part of the process for helping people think differently and therefore be able to exploit what cloud enables?
100%. It's actually a great segue, because at TELUS, we have a flexible work arrangement where we want 70% of our employees to be working either from home or remotely. So what that means is we have to have the tools and the culture in place that people understand that they can access data and relevant information wherever they are. It doesn't matter if you're at home, like I am today, or on the road or on a client site. They need to be able to get the information to provide the best customer experience and provide the right answer at the right time. So by switching from some of the great tools we already offered, because collaboration is part of TELUS's cultural DNA, we actually then enabled to tear down silos we didn't even know we were creating. We were trying to provide all the tools, but now people have end-to-end view of every record for customers, as well as employees and the collaboration involved in courses and learning opportunities as well. So they have access to everything when they need it, and they can take ownership of the customer experience or even their own career, which is fantastic for us.
Great. And Ralph, at Danone, as Director of Global Software Architecture, you've clearly had your feet in the past, and you've seen how things have evolved. Do you see the shift to cloud as a modest evolution, or is this something that you also view, having had an IT legacy experience, as quite a bit more, something that changes the game?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are looking at the cloud for quite some time now, and today we have started several projects in the cloud, mainly in two areas. One is, let's say, on the supporting functions of our business, which is HR, travel expenses, mail, these things. And there we see a huge advantage of using standardized services in the cloud. And these functions, we don't need any specific, right? We can live with the cloud comes always with a standard. You cannot change it like in SAP system. You cannot adopt the code. So that's one area where we think really there's a value using cloud applications. And the other area where we really think the cloud adds value is in our digital marketing initiatives. And that's for another reason. There we really need the flexibility of the cloud. The digital marketing thing that's changing every day. There's a lot of innovation, and there the cloud gives us, on one hand, the flexibility in terms of the resources that we need to support that, and as well the innovation cycles of our providers, which are much faster than they would be on premise. So these are the two main areas where we today use the cloud.
Ralph, it was interesting to me. This is Ed. When I was reading through the transcript of your interview and working on the case studies we did, that it's even changing business models. It seems that it's allowing Danone to go straight to consumer, where your customer had been the retailer. Cloud in new markets, new geographic markets, is letting you reach straight to the end user, the end buyer.
Right. That's when I talk about digital marketing. That's what I mean. I mean, all consumer product goods company like Danone today, they are looking at connecting to their consumers and not any as well to the retailers like in the past. But we are really focusing today on the end consumer, and there the cloud offers us new possibilities to do that, whether it's via mobile applications or websites and so on. And here there are two things which are important: is the flexibility of the systems, because we don't know how many consumers actually we will address. Can be a few, but it could be as well millions. So we need to have a kind of flexible architecture, and on-premise we couldn't manage that.
So it's interesting, when I listen to Ralph, I'm hearing agility, and I'm also hearing speed of innovation, because they can let those cloud services providers be on the vanguard of things like energy and facilities and process speeds, the speeds and feeds, the nuts and bolts. They're really at the vanguard, because their business model is based on a cost of operations where they're going to seek those efficiencies constantly. So Ed, the concept of speed seems to come up more and more. We're talking about speed of innovation, agility, direct lines of communication to customers, and of course also supply chain direct communication and speed as well. So how prominent did you see speed and the need for speed in business in your recent research?
Well, speed was important, and it's speed across different dimensions. It's speed to enter a new market, or it's speed to collaborate within your own company, within your own organization. It's this idea of taking IT and pushing it out to the people, to the customer, and really to the line of business that allows them to have intimate contact, to move quickly, but also to sort of break down these barriers of geography. We did a case study with another large company, Hero, which is a large maker of motorcycles and two-wheel vehicles in India. And what they're doing is, with cloud-enabled customer-facing technology, they're moving their service operation outside of dealerships into the countryside. Out across India, they go to parks and they set up what they call service camps. So there, the speed element is the speed and the convenience with which you are able to get your bike serviced. And that is having a large measurable impact on their business. So it is speed, but it's speed across multiple dimensions.
Right. And Tim, another thing that Ralph mentioned was standardization, of having consistency in how the services are delivered to them so the business can innovate at a higher abstraction. It seems to me that the cloud provider, then, their role in this is at a higher abstraction as well. So as a provider of cloud services yourself there at SAP, how are you seeing the ability to standardize and make consistent and automate processes and services in a way that then speeds up the general business objectives?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the core, as we mentioned before, the cloud is really all about unlocking new innovations, providing agility in the business, allowing companies to be able to adapt their processes very, very quickly, and even create entirely new engagement models. And that's what we're seeing, right? It's not just the cloud, though. It's a convergence of cloud and big data and analytics and mobile and social and business networks that really ushers in ultimately a new paradigm for business computing, one where applications are no longer just built for enterprise compliance or to be the system of record, but instead are really designed to engage and empower the individual user, one that ushers in kind of a new era of innovation for the business, where they can enable entirely new engagement models with customers, employees, and suppliers and other partners. We heard some great examples here, but some others were just very, very similar to the experience that Danone has seen, which is, T-Mobile is leveraging the cloud to not rip and replace its traditional systems of records, but to extend them with the cloud to create an entirely new model for social care, right? Helping it monitor conversations on its brand, engage customer issues across multiple channels. So not just their traditional support channels, but Twitter and Facebook, where these conversations are happening. And really, it's empowered them to deliver what has become a phenomenal kind of Cinderella worst to first story for customer support and satisfaction. So now they're seeing first-time resolution rates that have gone from what was, in the low teens to greater than 94%. And obviously, that has a massive impact on customer satisfaction and renewals. And that's all powered by, again, not throwing out what the systems that they've used so long, but by extending them with the cloud to achieve new innovations and drive new engagement models.
Now, Tim, another factor here is that it, in a sense, levels the playing field when you move to the cloud, that small to medium-sized enterprises can enjoy this same benefit that you just described, for example, from T-Mobile. So are you seeing there at SAP any movement in terms of the size or type of organizations that can exploit these new benefits? Is this something only for the big guys?
No, it's certainly not something only for the big guy, although it is interesting to think. I know, Dana, you and I have been around this industry for quite some time, and that was the original thought, right? The cloud was the big, would democratize computing power and allow small and medium businesses to, get the same level of application and infrastructure support that their larger competitors have had for years, and that's certainly true. But it's really the large enterprises that have been aggressively adopting this, right, on an equal pace with their small and medium-sized enterprises. So really, the cloud is being used to not only accelerate process efficiency and productivity, but to unlock innovation for all size companies, whether you're large enterprises like UPS and Deutsche Bank and Danone, they're using cloud-based business applications, or in the case of UPS and Deutsche Bank, business networks to extend their traditional supply chain and financial systems to collaborate better with their suppliers and bankers and other partners, but small upstarts as well. Companies like we might have talked about in the past, like Mediafly, a mobile marketing upstart that's using dynamic discounting solutions in the cloud to get paid faster and to fund the development of new features and take on new business, or Sage Health Solutions, which is a company that started by two stay-at-home moms in South Africa. That's really grown from zero to a multi-million-dollar operation, right? And that's all powered by the leveraging the cloud to enable new business models.
Well, to follow on what Tim said about the broad gamut of usage from company size, and also earlier mentioning mobile, what we saw in our survey is that mobile is of great importance to companies as a way of reaching their customers for internal productivity as well. But reaching customers is actually a higher priority, and that comes down to the old adage, you got to fish where the fish are. Look at what Danone is doing when they are setting up direct-to-customer technologies and marketing. They're going into markets where people don't necessarily have laptops or landlines. They're leapfrogging that to a world where people have mobile devices. So if you have mobile customers, and as Tim said, think of the consumer experience. That's how we all live our lives now. No matter what size your company is, you've got to reach your customer the way your customer lives now, and that's mobile.
Right. So there's a standardization of process between larger companies and smaller companies that is much greater now with the cloud. They can all play off of the same rules when it comes to supply chain processes or business interactions, as well as marketing, co-marketing. But at the other end of the spectrum, you can deliver through a standardized approach services out to any mobile endpoint. We're talking about smartphones today. We might be talking about sensors or internet points that are not quite as sophisticated as a phone, but are nonetheless taking data and providing data back. So this all boils down to, Ed, greater collaboration standardized, accepted collaboration, small to medium-sized companies with larger ones down to the actual mobile cell phone or smartphone. Tell us a little bit about your research, how you've gone about it, and how that new level of pervasive collaboration was demonstrated in your findings.
Well, so in terms of the research, as I said, we went out to 200 execs around the world, and we asked them a series of questions about what kind of, what their investment plans were. It was sort of baseline survey information. What are you doing in the cloud? How much of it are you doing? And what are the key benefits you're getting? And then as we went deeper in this phase of the project, we found that collaboration has different meanings because, as you say, it can be collaboration within the company. It can be with partners, which obviously cloud platforms allow you to do more easily. And it's also, this key relationship, a key area of collaboration is between IT and the business. And what we see in this research is that IT is increasingly seen as a partner for the business, as a way, as I mentioned, of driving revenue via the cloud. But across the four regions that we surveyed, North America, Latin America, EMEA, and APAC, we saw a very high percentage of companies say that they see that IT is emerging as a valued partner of the business, not just a support function for the business. So I think that's a key collaborative relationship that I'm sure our guests are seeing in their own companies.
And just to be clear, Ed, this is ongoing research. You're already back into the field, and you'll be updating some of these findings soon.
Yeah, we're really excited about that, Dana. We did this survey last year for SAP, and then we jumped in about a year later using those numbers and did these in-depth research interviews to look at the use of the cloud to drive business. And now this summer, we are refielding the survey to see how things have changed and to see how the view of the future has changed. Because we ask a lot of questions now and in 3 years, where do you think you'll be? And we're really interested to see how people are doing compared to the targets they set and what their new targets are. So we'll have some fresh numbers and fresh reports to talk to you about by Q3, Q4.
Great. Let's look into those actual examples now and go back to Brian at TELUS. Let's start at that high-level question, Brian. Where do you expect to be in 3 years at TELUS, and how has cloud perhaps been a factor in that change?
Yeah. Well, one thing, even before we jump to that, I think it's just a tangible example that might help express the value of collaboration at TELUS as well, and something that people don't think about, and that's safety. We have a lot of field technicians that are in remote areas, and by having this mobile access, a perfect example is we can go into a situation where a technician may be a little unsure of what to do in a situation, and it's unsafe potentially. Because of the mobile access and the cloud, we have enabled them to quickly record a video, upload it directly to our SAP Jam system, which is our collaborative tool suite that we use, and share it with a collection of other technicians, not just the person they can call or take that risk. And what happens is then people can say, this is unsafe, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and we can even push them required training so they can be sure that they're making the right decision. And all of a sudden that becomes a more safe situation and the technician isn't putting themselves at risk, which I think is really important because people don't think of those real tangible examples. They often feel just sharing information back and forth. But in terms of what we're doing and where we're going, we've moved now, and especially since I sit in HR, and what we're really doing is trying to improve the business process. We now have all of our information, the system of record, an integrated LMS, so our learning management system, ability to analyze talent, so we make the correct hires. So basically, we now trust the information implicitly, and we are able to make the correct decision, whether it means customer information, recruiting choices, hiring choices, performance choices. So now we're in a situation where we're only going to maximize and try to leverage the cloud for even more innovation, because now people are all singing from the same choir sheet, so to speak, and we have access to the same system or record of truth. And that's the first time we've had that. So now recruiting can talk to learning, can talk to performance, can talk to technicians and get the true version of the truth. And that's really important for us.
Well, those are some excellent examples of how mobile enhances cloud, that extends the value of the mobile, that brings in collaboration, and at the same time creates data and analysis benefits that can then be fed back into that process. So there's really a cyclical adoption value here. And I'd like to just go back to the culture part of this. Brian, how do you make sure that that adoption cycle doesn't spin out of control? Is there a lack of governance? Do you feel like you can control what goes on, or are we perhaps in a period of creative chaos that we should let spin off on its own in any way?
Yep, that's a great question, and I'm not sure if TELUS handled this in a unique way, but we definitely had a very detailed plan. And the first thing we did was we actually have collaboration as one of our values attributes or one of our leadership competencies. So people are expected to collaborate, and their performance review is dependent on that. So what that means is what we can provide tools that say, listen, we are trying to facilitate collaboration. It doesn't matter if you're collaborating through a phone call, through a water cooler chat, or through technology. So our employees are expected to collaborate. And what that means is because they know they're being, not judged, so to speak, but it's part of their performance cycle and it's targeted towards their achievements for the year. We trust them to do the right thing. So we actually encourage a little bit of freedom. We want to push the boundaries. Our governance is not so tight that they're afraid to comment incorrectly or afraid to ask a tough question. And what we're seeing now is individual team members are challenging leadership positions on specific questions, and we're having honest, frank discussions that's pushing the organization forward and making us make the accurate, correct choice at all times, which is really encouraging because now we're really flattening our hierarchy, and the cloud is enabling us to do that.
Wow, that sounds like a very powerful engine to innovation, allowing that freedom, but then having it be controlled, managed, and understood at the same time. That's amazing. Ed, I'd just like to see if you have any reactions to what Brian just said about how innovation is manifesting itself newly there at TELUS.
Well, I was interested when we spoke to TELUS in that cultural aspect of it, because, and I'm sure the guys on the call would disagree with me on a technical level, but we like to say technology is easy, culture is hard, because the technology works and you implement it and you figure that out. But getting people to change is really difficult. So the example that we used in the case study we did for SAP on TELUS was about changing culture through gamification, right? Allowing people to learn via an online cloud-based virtual game. And it was this massive effort, and it engaged a huge number of employees across this large company and really shifted the culture of customer service or of the employee culture, and that had an impact on customer service and therefore on business performance. So it's a way where the cloud is moving mountains. It's really addressing the hard things to change, which is human behavior and attitudes.
Right.
Yeah, Dana, I would add to that. This is Tim. We talk about the convergence of these different technologies in cloud and social and mobile, and ultimately what I'm saying is we have this convergence going on in technology that we talk about all the time, but there is a massive change going on in the workforce and what constitutes the workforce. So, we talked, Brian talked about how there's a leveling of the organization, doing away with the traditional hierarchical command and control where information is isolated in the hands of a few, and the new eager employee doesn't get access to solving some of the tough problems alike, and all of that's being flattened. That's being accelerated and empowered by cloud and social collaboration tools. But also we're seeing a shift in what constitutes the workforce. I think one of the biggest examples is the major shift in how companies are viewing the workforce. Contingent and SOW workers, basically non-payroll employees, now represent a third of the typical workforce. In the next few years, this will grow to more than half. It's already occurring in certain industries like pharmaceuticals and mining and retail and oil and gas. And what it's fundamentally doing is it is changing how folks view the workforce. They're moving from a functional management of someone, this is their job, this is what they do, to really managing pools of talent or skills that can be rapidly deployed or to address a given problem or develop a new innovative product or service. And these pools of talent will include both people on your payroll and off your payroll. But tracking and managing and organizing and engaging these pools of talent is only possible through the cloud and through mobile, where multiple parties and from multiple organizations can view and access and collaborate and share knowledge and experiences running on a shared technology platform.
Right.
I think that extends quite naturally to the customer. The customer is evolving faster than almost anything, and they expect 24/7 access to support, and they expect authentic responses, and they actually have access to just as much information as the customer service agent now. And that without mobile, if you can't connect with those customers and be factual, you're in trouble, and your customers are going to reply in social media channels, in public forum, and you're going to lose business, and you're going to lose trust with your existing customers as well.
Fully agree. The only addition to that I would say is they also expect to be able to engage you through any channel, whether it's their mobile phone, their laptop, or in some cases, directly face-to-face on the phone in a retail outlet, and have the same consistent experience, not need to reintroduce who they are and what their problem is as they move from channel to channel.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian and Tim, on that. Clearly, we're seeing things that just weren't possible before the cloud that are having pervasive impacts on businesses. Let's look at a new business example again with Danone. Ralph, tell us a little bit about how cloud has had strategic implications for you. You have many brands, many lines of business. How is cloud allowing Danone to function better as a whole?
As I said, we have a strategy around digital marketing, and as you know, we are operating in almost every country in the world. So even if we are a big company, locally we are sometimes quite small, right? And we are trying to build up new markets in emerging countries with very small investments in the beginning. And there the cloud is definitely the best option for us to start these new businesses and connect to our consumers. So money matters even for a big company like Danone, right? So that's very important for us. And especially if you look in Africa, or there are completely different business models that we need to address. So people in Africa, they pay with their mobile phones, or we sell yogurt on the bicycle. I mean, some women they catch up some yogurts in the morning and then they sell them on the road and so on. And we need to do business with these people as well. And obviously, ERP system is not able to do that. So the cloud there is a much better adopted platform to do this sort of business. Right.
Terrific. Yes. Again, instances where cloud is enabling things that simply couldn't have been done with spreadsheets, email, and sticky notes. So very interesting. Now, it's one thing to look at the impacts of cloud. We certainly have demonstrated that there are new benefits, and that provides a challenge, Ed, doesn't it? How do you compare doing something that's never been done before to something in the past that therefore create a metric of success to measure what you're doing? Is there anything in your research so far that helps organizations understand the value of cloud, some of these instances that we've been talking about, but put into business terms? Because the C-suite likes to look at numbers. How do we measure innovation and measure it?
We are doing some research on another program right now on that very topic for a non-SAP program, and that is showing us that metrics for success on sort of basic things like KPIs for progress of migration into the cloud are lacking at a lot of companies, and basic ROI numbers are lacking at a lot of companies. We're really old school. We think, to go back to your definition of what a business is, we think it's an organization that's set up to make money for shareholders and deliver value for its stakeholders. And by those measures, at least by dotted line, the key metrics are: how is your financial performance? Are you entering, as we mentioned before, new markets, creating new products? So the metrics that are cloud specific, we're seeing are not universal yet, but in a broader sense, as cloud becomes an everyday set of tools, the point of those tools is to make the business run better. And we are seeing a correlation between effective use of the cloud and business performance.
Tim Minahan at SAP, any thoughts as well on measuring innovation, qualifying and quantifying it? And isn't, in a sense, data and analytics a new currency that we need to bring to the table when we think about the fruits of doing this kind of collaboration?
Yeah, certainly. What the cloud and mobile and social bring to bear, in addition to new collaboration models, is they kick off a unbelievable amount of new information, and oftentimes not in a structured way. And so the need to aggregate that information, the opportunity to analyze it in new ways, to detect and predict, propensity modeling on your customers, on your supply chain, on your employees, and their likely progression and development is extremely, extremely powerful. And I think we've just scratched the surface. We've provided as an industry, we've provided the channels through which to collaborate, and as we've heard today, I mean, there's entirely new engagement models and business models that companies hadn't even thought of before. But once you have that information, once you have that connectivity, once you have that collaboration, you can begin to investigate and trial and error, quite candidly. So to answer your question around measurement on this, yes, I think measurement of the business process, measurement of the business outcome. Because let's not forget why companies adopt technology. It's not just for technology's sake. It's to affect a change. It's to affect a more efficiency, greater productivity, new engagement capabilities. And so measuring the business benefit, I think, is what we're seeing and what we're advising our customers to do, rather than just measuring, are we tracking towards an adoption of having more cloud in our infrastructure or portfolio. So there is a focus today, and largely driven, I think, by the fact that the lines of business are now more engaged in the buying decision and in shaping what they want from a technology standpoint to help them enable their business process. So the metrics have shifted from one of speeds and feeds and users to one of business outcomes.
Brian at TELUS in Toronto, given that you're closely associated with human resources, productivity, and the softer metrics of employee involvement and dedication and that sort of thing, are there any ways that you can think that cloud adoption and innovation, as we've been describing, has this unintended set of consequences when it comes to employee empowerment, perhaps, or that innovation equation? How do you view measuring success of cloud adoption?
Yep. Much to echo what's already been said, we've actually tried to simplify the process as well. We're not really concerned with how many users are using the tool or how many conversations are happening. We measure our customer success by the likelihood to recommend. Will a TELUS customer recommend our services and products to friend, family, peers? And we measure internal success by our employee engagement metrics. So if the customers are satisfied and the employees are engaged and fulfilled at work, that means that we're probably moving in the right direction, and we can kind of reverse engineer to see what changes are helping us. So then that allows us to take our information and innovation from the cloud and inspire better behaviors and better process. So what I mean by that is that we can say, you know what, in this pocket, we've analyzed that our customers' likelihood to recommend is higher than anywhere else in Canada. What are they doing? And we can look back through the information shared on the cloud and see the great customer success stories or the great team building that's driving engagement through the roof, and say, this is the process we have to replicate and spread throughout all of our centers, and then tweak it for cultural specifics. But because of that, we can use the cloud to inspire better behavior, not just say, wow, we had 40,000 users, 2,000 hits on this blog post. We're really trying to get away from the quantitative and get into the qualitative to really drive change throughout the organization.
Well, great. We're reaching the end of our time, so I wanted to look a bit to the future, what comes next. And you can certainly make the argument that cloud adoption as an IT function has been in effect for some years now and is moving into a maturity. But I think we can safely say as well that the business exploitation of cloud models and effects is still rather new and fresh. So we're still in uncharted territory, but trying to think about where this takes us next is interesting and exciting. Let's start with Ralph. Where do you see the impacts of cloud adoption in your business over the next couple of years? What's likely to take place there that you can already start to see the glimmers of, the initial parts of?
Yes, I think there are still some challenges in front of us. One of the challenges is China, for example. Actually, China is one of the biggest markets for Danone, but cloud services are not always available in China, or they are very slow. And so if they are, for example, if your cloud solution is hosted outside of China and there's a big problem. So these are probably more technical challenges, but we have to find solutions with our partners there so that they establish the services in China, for example. That's one of the challenges. The other challenge is that the cloud might change the role of IT in our organization. In the past, we were owning the systems and the applications. Today, the business, they can basically buy cloud services with their credit card. So you could imagine that they don't need us anymore in the future. But I don't think that's true. So it's not true. We have probably to redefine as an IT organization our role inside the organization, from just providing solutions or hardware to be really an ambassador for the business to help them to take the right decisions. And there are still problems which will remain, is the integration. Integration between different applications. So these are, it doesn't get easier in the cloud. So that's where I see the challenges. And last but not least, it's about security. We in Danone, we take that really seriously. So if we store data, whether it's employees or our consumers, we have to make sure that our cloud providers, they have the same highest standards of security and there are no leaks, so that this data gets not outside of the Danone world, and that's very, very important for us. So that's all these legal aspects as well. So in there we have just started. I think there's still a lot of things to do in the next years, but we are definitely going on with our strategy towards the cloud and towards mobile. And it all fits together at the end of the day, and I think that was said before, right? It's not only cloud, it's as well big data and collaboration and mobile. The whole thing is, you have to see that as one package.
Great. Well, thank you, Ralph.
Of opportunities.
Yes, thank you for bringing us a bit back down to earth when it comes to cloud. We can certainly see the benefits, but there's still a lot of important challenges to overcome along the way as well. Brian, at TELUS, how do you see things unfolding? Where do you think might be some of the impacts a few years from now that we're only just starting to realize?
Yep, I think on a more positive note, which is just the other side of the coin, because obviously the challenges are there, but we're actually just starting to be able to experience the fact that innovation at TELUS is moving faster than it used to, because we're no longer dependent on the speed at which our pre-assigned resources can make change and develop new products. IT can now look at it from a more strategic point of view, which is great, but now we're maximizing quarterly releases from systems that's leveraging the input from multiple companies around the world, not just how fast our learning team can develop something or how fast our IT team can build new functionality into our products. So now we're no longer limited by the resources, and innovation is flying forward. And that for us is the biggest unexpected gain. We're seeing all this technology that used to take months or years to change on a quarterly release schedule, and this is fantastic. And even within a year of being on this, our cloud computing system, we are so happy, and that is inspiring to people, and they're maximizing that and trying to push the organization forward as well. So that's a really big benefit.
Tim Minahan, at SAP, you have a unique vantage point looking at many different aspects of business, technology, cloud. Any thoughts about where this can lead us in the next few years that we haven't yet hit upon, things that you're just starting to see the first early glimmers of?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has been touched on here. I think we're seeing a massive shift in what the role of IT is, moving from one of deploying technology and integrating things to really becoming business process experts. We talked a bit about just the amount of data and insights that are now available to help you better understand and predict the appetites of your customers, to help you even determine, when your machines might fail and when it's time to reorder or set a service repair. But I think the biggest thing is really gets to what the cloud is going to unlock for new business models and new organizational models, right? We talked a bit about TELUS and their work patterns in which, most of the workers are remote, how they're engaging the field service technicians in the field. We talked about the growing contingent workforce and how the cloud is enabling folks to collaborate and onboard and skill up those employees, non-payroll employees, much quicker. Right? We're going to see new virtual enterprises. We're talking about borderless enterprises that allow you to organize not just pools of talent, but organize entire value chains and be able to collaborate in a much more transparent way. And I think all of this is moving to, and we're beginning to see it. We mentioned before about, Apple Home. You're beginning to see it with 3D printers. This whole idea where more and more companies become digital businesses. And this isn't just about omnichannel commerce and providing a single customer experience across multiple channels. It is actually about moving more and more of what you deliver, the solutions you deliver, the former products you deliver, to digital bits that can be tested and experienced and downloaded all online. And that's where I think all of this is going, powered by this massive convergence of cloud and mobility and social and business networks and big data.
Well, great. Last word to you, Ed Cohn. Tell us a bit on the extrapolation side of your research. Any thoughts about what comes next? Something that, again, is something that could not have been done before these cloud models emerged.
Well, to follow on what Tim said about the borderless enterprise, when we ask people what's in the cloud now and what's going to be substantially cloud-based in 3 years, 3 of the highest growth areas were innovation and R&D, supply chain, and HR. So I think all of those go straight to this idea that these boundaryless digital enterprises are emerging and that cloud will be the underpinning of these enterprises. We're working with Tim right now on a big global study about the workforce. And when I talk about culture and the way companies function internally, and I see that a year ago when we started this research that HR was the least likely function of the ones we queried to be in the cloud, and that it's going to have massive growth in the next couple of years. These stories start to converge of boundaryless and culture all coming together via the cloud. So that's the segue to say we're really excited to see how these numbers look when we refield this survey this summer, because I'm guessing that progress is snowballing and accelerating beyond even what people thought it was the last time we asked them.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing that research and discussing it the next time we get together. Appreciate that. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. You've been listening to a sponsored Briefings Direct podcast discussion on the expanding impact that cloud computing is having at the strategic business level, and not just as an IT efficiency shift. And we've heard how companies like TELUS and Danone are gaining a refocused ability to extend processes and insights broadly and affordably to their customers, suppliers, and other partners inside and outside of their organization. So please join me now in thanking our guests. Ed Cohn, Managing Editor of Thought Leadership at Oxford Economics. Thank you so much, Ed.
My pleasure.
We're also joined today by Ralph Steinbach. He's the Director of Global Software Architecture at Groupe Danone, the French food multinational in Paris. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you for attending me at this conference.
Great. And Brian Akers joined us. He's the Culture Change Ambassador for TELUS Transformation Office at TELUS, the Canadian telecom firm based in Toronto. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks. This was great.
And last, Tim Minahan's joined us. He's Chief Marketing Officer for SAP Cloud and Line of Business Solutions. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Dana.
And a big thank you, lastly, to our audience for joining us. This is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions. Don't forget to come back next time at Briefings Direct.